Hiya. For once I'm actually not in the garage. Most of you who subscribe to this channel know that, well, I think my most popular video is actually clearing out the EGR valve on an old Volvo I had. But, you know, one of my main hobbies is tech. You know, I like my video games, I like my computers. So that's why we're inside. Stood in my front room, in front of my telly. Basically, I am a big video gamer. I like modern games and I like old vintage games. And in my front room I've built up basically what can only be described as a brilliant retro gaming setup. I'll be pausing the video now to stick some photos in. See what I mean about there being a fair amount of stuff? So there is the NES, the SNES, the Mega Drive, the Mega CD, the N64, the GameCube, the Wii U, the Dreamcast, the Xbox Original, the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One. Now, all of them work. Actually, to be honest, most of them are ones that I've not gone out and bought. The NES was actually my fiance's from when she was growing up as a kid. The SNES is mine, the N64 is one I had when I was growing up as well, so you know, it's just equipment that I've collected over the years. Now the unfortunate problem is, these are all getting older, so that means that, you know, things like contacts can wear out, and bits like that. Now I want to try and avoid putting stress on the equipment, so especially for ones that use CDs, you know, those mechanisms wear out and parts will eventually get hard to get. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to stop using all that equipment, but I've been looking at emulation as a way to sort of lighten the load a little bit. Now, everyone knows that with a Raspberry Pi you can emulate most of these systems, but I've decided to go about this another way, and I'm going to show you that now. I mean, I'm going to say this, it does use a Raspberry Pi though, but it's a little bit different. So as you can see, normal LG telly, a Raspberry Pi plugged into the spare HDMI port and powered off the television itself. So we just plug this in and get it booted now. I'll fast forward you guys through this bit. And here we go, we're at the desktop. So let me grab my keyboard, just bog standard Logitech cordless one, and if I bring up a command prompt and type Parsec, this is some software that I'm running on it, and I tell it I want to use my saved password, yep, and it's showing me a list of machines I can connect to. There's only one because I've only got the one, which is called desktop random numbers, so I just tell it I want to connect to that. So now we just wait for it to finish connecting. And as you can see, what it's actually connected to is a Windows desktop. Now this Windows desktop sits underneath the stairs in my kitchen, and it's got 3 graphics cards in it because it's actually a crypto mining machine. So what I'm going to do is, if I tell it to, as you can see the mining thing's mining here, so if I tell it stop mining on card 1, card 1's the primary graphics card. I could, and we're going to use the primary graphics card to play a video game now. Unfortunately I can't use any of the other ones because they're all in PCI x1 slots, so they don't have the bandwidth. But considering it's an RX 480 that I'm using, it's going to be good enough for a big chunk of games. So, sorry about that interruption. I had to pause it because my pet rabbit started playing around the base of the tripod and I didn't want her to knock it over. Yes, I'm one of those weird people who has house rabbits. So, to get back to where we were, as you can see, I've turned mining off on the first graphics card, and this is what I'm going to do now. If I launch this little program here called BigBox, we'll just let it load. Right, I'll just turn the volume down on the telly for a second. It does take a while to load because unfortunately the hard disk I've got in it is only a Western Digital Green, so it's a slow hard drive, but considering the machine was built out of spare parts, it'll do until I replace it with, I don't know, an SSD or even just a Western Digital Black for high capacity. Now, if I turn it up and down, turn the volume up now, and if I use my control pad to scroll through the different platforms, you can see I have a few listed. So we'll leave it on PlayStation because that's what it's picked. So if you look, it's a nice interface to the console. So if I press A to select that, and now it's picked up that I've gone into the console. So the game that's selected at the moment is called Harmful Park. It actually wasn't released in the UK, it's a Japanese exclusive, and it's actually a really good game. I'd check it out if I were you lot. So as you can see, you get little screenshots of what's going on in the game on the television, but if I press A again, and I press A to play, what's going to happen is now, all the video game ROM files and disk images are stored on my server upstairs. So the Pi is connected to my home Wi-Fi by its built-in Wi-Fi card. So what it's doing now is it's just downloading the image file for it to work. As you can see, there you go. Now you did notice a slight problem with the way the Pi is set up. Because the PC is changing resolution, the Raspberry Pi can't really cope with that. I've gone all out of focus. Right, so what I'll do is I'll just quickly show you some gameplay on this, and then I'll show you its kind of saving kind of good thing. So bear with us. It's like being back in the old days with PlayStation loading times, this, isn't it? Right. So just fire up the game. As you can see, there's pretty much next to no input lag. But whenever I press the button to fire, so it's actually a pretty good way to play old school video games. But it's not just old school video games it'll do. So if I go back to this, if I go back again and again, so you see I have all these other platforms I can select as well. But what I'll do is I will go down, or when it's finished, I'll go down to Windows and open this up. And what it's actually done is it actually looks on the PC for my Steam library. So it's imported these games in. Now what I'm going to do is, I've obviously just installed these games as a test. I've not played them that much. Like I said, I'm mainly a console gamer, so I don't have many PC games. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch Batman Arkham Knight, and we'll see how good streaming across the network is. As it stands, I'm not expecting miracles because it is over a 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi card. I will actually be plugging it in, hardwiring it into an Ethernet connection over power line, just to try and make it a bit more reliable. But we'll see what it does now. What I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to fast forward the video at this point because, like I said, the hard disk it's on is really slow, so it'll take a while to load this. So you get to time travel, I have to go the slow way around. Alright, okay, this has got me worried this might actually have failed, so let me just bring up Task Manager and we'll see what it's doing. This is the joy of it still being a Windows PC, so here we go. I look down here, you see it is loading. It's not broken. It really is just that slow of a hard drive. There you go, that's what impatience gets you. So we'll let it load. I'll just pull up a bit of the gameplay. Literally all I've done is turn it on to make sure that it works while I was plugged into a monitor in the kitchen. But that's about it. So it is literally right at the beginning of the game. But as you can see, controller's working fine. Now the controller, like I say, is plugged into the Raspberry Pi. So all the video is being sent down an Ethernet cable on the PC in the kitchen to my switch, which is then going to my access point, which is a Wi-Fi access point, down to the 2.4 gig Wi-Fi card in the Pi. The Pi is converting it to video, slapping it up on screen. But at the same time, any input commands I put in, the Pi is sending the same way. So you can see why having a 2.4 gig Wi-Fi connection isn't the greatest. So, like I said, it's either going to be hardwired via Ethernet over power line, because unfortunately I don't have an Ethernet cable going up behind the television, but I do have a power cable. So that's the next best thing. Or it'll be done with a 5 gig Wi-Fi dongle, put higher towards the script, put higher towards the ceiling. So we'll just load it now and we'll see how it works as it stands. This is still very much a first real sort of run. I've not massively played with it. This is just sort of a weekend's work, but you know, it's up and running. There's a lot more that still needs to be done. I need to get all the retro emulation stuff configured properly, but as you saw, that does work, so that's always a good step. So we'll just wait for it to finish, and as you can see, I'm in the Batmobile. So if I go forward, there's a little bit of a stutter there, and yes, I'm not very good at this driving this, because I've not played with it, but it does just kind of give you an idea of what the graphics will look like. There is a bit of pixelization, and I will admit that, but don't forget this is, and now it's done that because it had to cache some stuff off the hard disk. Like I said, it's far from ideal, but for a first attempt, like I said, there's a lot more sort of tweaking I can do to improve the picture quality, improve the performance. It is perfectly playable, and considering this is a 58-inch television, and I'm stood less than 12 inches away from it as well, and you know, I'm sure if I sat further back I wouldn't notice any of these tiny little artifacts. But what I'll do now is I'll just close out of this, and then when it says it'll take us back to the Windows desktop, it won't. What it will do is it'll take us back to the emulation system. Oh, sorry, the front end I should say. So if I go up to, say, the Genesis, and like I said, on this one you get a little, for every platform you pick you get a little video that plays for it. Genesis, obviously, I'm in the UK, so it's the Mega Drive. It's just those Americans can't name things correctly. So if I select that and I say Sonic the Hedgehog, if you look, you get something showing up on the fake TV of Sonic the Hedgehog. One thing that's quite nice about this skin is we've seen it on that. If I now go back and I go up to the NES, the television changes. You know, it kind of reflects what people would have been playing on back in the day. So on the Turbo Graphics, again, you get a different style television. On the N64, you're getting the modern Sony. But again, it's just one of these nice things that's just a nice little touch. So I'd actually say this is potentially one of the best front ends you can get for video game playing. But I just thought I'd share what I've got up to on this weekend. Alright, cheers, bye.